It was a very powerful, typically powerful call from Alexei Navalny for Russians to take to the streets. He said, we need to fight for peace. The Russians shouldn't be afraid of going to jail. And then he said, everything has its price, and now is the time to pay that price. He said, so this is Alexei Navalny speaking from jail, of course, where he's been for the last year. So that makes his message about not being afraid to go to prison that much more poignant. Although, of course, he and his team won't be on the streets because anybody that isn't in prison fled abroad last year under the threat of going to prison. Whether Russians will listen is another matter. We've had more than 6,500 people detained at anti-war protests in more than 50 cities since Russia invaded Ukraine. The threat of arrest is very real, and it's very hard to tell how widespread the opposition against the war is. Certainly, it hasn't got the euphoria that the Kremlin may have hoped for that followed the annexation of Crimea, for instance. One state polling agency found that 22% of Russians were against the war. So I think, given that that's an organization which is run or controlled by the Kremlin, you can probably assume that's the lowest number of people that are going to be against the war. It may be higher, which is a not insignificant number in a Russia where civil society and independent media have been being repressed for the last 20 years, a campaign that's only intensified in the last week, with several independent media outlets being blocked in the last 24 hours.